So our requirement is file transfer.
Oh, okay.
Right. So the requirement,
Yes.
present first requirement is a file transfer, right? So the file transfer process is very important and very secured actually. ఇక్కడ main thing మనం చూడాల్సింది how we are transferring the file. So there is a source system. There is a source system, and there is a target system. So the file transfer has to go this process, and we'll use to take care of the job is Airflow. So, and how Airflow will connect this file system. అంటే మీరు ఇక్కడ చూస్తే Airflow has to connect your source systems.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yes, sir.
So, yes. So this red arrow is nothing but this Airflow is connecting the file transfer system. I'll like to call this SFTP. Okay, so SFTP, the file transferring we are doing.
Okay.
So first of all, what is the SFTP? Is nothing but secure file transfer protocol. So which is nothing but we are transferring the data over network. This is nothing but when you are transferring, and this is external system. This is not, I'm not only saying the system is everything within environment. So even for the external system, we are connecting here. We are transferring the file to the our network. So what is the difference between the FTP and SFTP? FTP is just transferring data as a plain text, but SFTP it encrypts the data, like for the commands, data, everything. It is providing secure connection for transferring the protocol, for transferring the files. So, and how it is going to work? It is going to work as secured shell process. That's important actually. So, మీరు మీ code లో కూడా చూస్తున్నప్పుడు when you refer your code like SSH, so you say some. So what is the SSH? It is secured connection, secure shell, the secure shell connection. So this is mainly using for uploading, downloading, managing the files for between different servers, different file systems. We use this way of process using SSH connectivity, secure shell connectivity. So through SFTP, we are connecting to the source system using SSH. So the first key area is here. So we need to establish the connection to test how the SSH is working first. Okay. So first we need to test this connection. So once SSH is enabled, we'll go with the SFTP connectivity, and then we can transfer the files. Because once SSH connectivity is established, it means that you're ready to use the SFTP for connecting these two systems. And to load the data from the source to target. And in between, if there is any security process, we can define. So when I say SSH, secure shell means there are multiple ways we can access this SSH secure shells, like by sending the login credentials, by generating the private key, public keys, and we can use that. Authentication is nothing but authentication method. That's important. Authentication, how you're authenticating the data from your Airflow to the source systems. That's the important thing here. Okay, so now coming to this SSH connectivity. So first we need to do the SSH connectivity, like because we're using Dockers. So we need to see how this is going to work, and the SFTP process also. Like when we enable cheyali, mana systems lo enable cheskoni, and we will see the end-to-end. We will transfer the file. Right. Okay. So now what we'll do is let's create SSH. Basically, మీరు Airflow చూస్తే, so if you go with the admin connections, ఇవన్నీ మీకు ఆల్రెడీ ఉంటే ఓకే, లేకపోతే no problem, because depends on version it will come. But I mean these are default values anyway. So let me check with the SFTP. Okay, before go to SFTP, SSH is end of the day same processing. But first, let me check before go to SFTP. First, let me check SSH. What is the differences? We'll see. So connection type is SSH. Like even SFTP will follow the same SSH. SFTP process kelle mundu. First, we'll check internally how the SSH is going to work. Idela work chestadi. Even SFTP, when we give this connectivity, it will follow SSH only. So how this SSH we have to enable? So while enabling the system, first you need to check is your system is enabled to transfer the files. So we can check how the Windows will work. I think by default it will be stopped. Okay, let me check. Let me check my system. Normally, how we'll check is we are going to check the network settings. Just we'll check. Yeah, see, remote login is important. So already very APIs by connect అవడం కోసం వేరే trainings కి already enabled for remote login. But better you check in your machine. Is it enabled or not? So for me as admin I have allowed. So real time lo మీకు ఈ problem ఉండదు because మీ teams వాళ్ళు they will when you say SFTP means you are allowing that files to outside by default. But right now what we are doing is we are making our system as SFTP. So present మనం ఏం చేస్తున్నాం అంటే మన సిస్టమే సోర్స్ మన సిస్టమే టార్గెట్. We'll see practically. So okay, we are seeing the practically on the both sides how the SFTP is going to work. So we will make source system is the same our system and target our system, but the only thing what we'll do will change is the folder locations మనం change చేసుకొని and then we'll see how it is going to work. In real time, you just change the locations of your source and target, remaining the whole process is same. So what we'll do here is let's integrate the SSH connectivity. So SSH connectivity, first I'll check it. So just use some anything. So I'll just put the SSH test, suppose connection ID, connection type. So see how different types. So by default SSH I'm taking. Already won the connection, I'm just editing. So that's what you got by default. But when you start your connection by default, suppose we did start this on a connection, you'll see empty. So let's do this way. Okay. So and SSH. Connection SSH, I think that. So and description, you can write some description and the host. So host, okay, this is important. So this is nothing but like your source IP. So now I'm working on the Airflow side. So Airflow has a source connectivity. Now I have to go to the source and I have to put that IP details here. So right now, what is my source? My system is my source. Local machine, yes. So this is not Airflow. This is my Venkata MacBook Air mission, right? So this is my source. If config, I'm just checking my IP address. Yeah, this is my name. Okay, let me take this IP. I need IP. I'm taking this host and username. Okay, now I'm just trying for my system. Okay, Venkata username. My system MacBook Air is Venkata, and I have a password for my system. So I'm just trying the connectivity first using username password, not API, not private keys. We will generate those keys later, but first we're going with step by step. First we're going with how this SSH is working. That's important. Why? Because there are different ways of secure connectivities. So this secure shell connectivity, sometimes like POCs or developer environments or some things, they'll give some default credentials. They'll give some default user, default passwords for any NFS. They have NFS locations if they have, and for doing the small things, you can use it like this directly. They will allow. But for the production, no, this is not actually the process. For production, we will never use username passwords. We will use username mostly, but not passwords, because we always give the private key, and it depends upon the projects and depends upon the depends upon sensitivity of data, to be honest. So, okay, so what I'm doing is, yes, my system is enabled for remote connectivity that we verified. And second thing is, now I'm trying from Airflow. And where is the Airflow? Airflow is not in my local machine. Airflow is in Docker, so which works like outside, right? So this is Airflow mission. So now this is working like another IP. This is not as my same IP. So that's the reason we have to give the host, or else if we can give local host, if you give normally if it is a local machine, we call local host. But if you see here, okay, now suppose I'm giving local host and try the testing. See what is saying? Unable to connect. So this is a default port. So it means now my Airflow is not local host. My Airflow is separate containers. They have their own IPs. But my source system is nothing but this IP. So now let me test it now. I'm testing with the IP. Okay, yeah, see now connection successfully test. That means because I have enabled for remote connectivity in my local settings. So first step is always, instead of writing a 100 lines code and checking the code, better you check first that this connection, the possibility of connectivity. For APIs, it's not that, last time we did for API connectivity and we're not able to test it, right? Yes, that the test has to go through code only. But this type of connectivity for any username, password, or anything, we have to go this way. Like we did testing for Postgres, like the same way we are testing now for this system. So by secure shell, I've connected from Airflow to the Venkata system here. That's it. So now I'm saving. And remember the connection name. What is the connection name we save? I think this one, SSH test. Test. Okay, now I'm going to Airflow and I'm going to use this the connection details so that I can check from the Airflow coding itself, like our DAG itself. Now this is not DAG. This is just a connections which verified from the admin. Now let's create a DAG, and in the DAG you check the connectivity. So first we check the connectivity. Once the connectivity is established, then actually 50% of job is done. The next step is we need to write a coding for the transferring the files. So let's see now. I'm going to create a DAG. I'm just going to create a new file, and I'll say SSH connectivity. Yeah, let's call connectivity Python file. Okay, so now I'm just going to from Airflow. Let's go the other codings we have, right? Under this. Okay, I'll just take. We have anything? Yeah, let's take this. I'm just using. So we're using DAG, and datetime I'm going to use. Actually, now we are not using any these Python operators. We are just using for SSH operators. .ssh, importing SSH. Let's call operator SSH operator. I'm just taking default arguments. Okay, and I'll call with DAG. So just give a DAG ID. I'll give the SSH connectivity, and I'll call default arguments equal to default arguments, and schedule interval equal to none. Yes, DAG. So what is the operator I'm using? SSH operator. So now task ID. So I'm just calling one task. Just SSH connectivity remotely. Okay, now I'm taking connection ID. This is important because we follow the same process when you have SFTP also. So now we are covering the connection part. So the file transfer part we'll cover later. So first I'm taking connection ID. What is the connection ID?
SSH underscore test.
Yeah, so it's directly. Okay, and just what you want to execute. Okay, I just want to execute one command just to check. Our job is to transfer the files, but before that, you will see this connectivity, how the connectivity is working. So I'm just calling echo. Suppose let's say testing SSH connectivity. Suppose something. I'm just giving like this. Okay. So SSH operator is the operator. It is allowing to connect securely. So for SFTP way of file transferring the files, SSH way of connectivity is very important. Security shell operators. So now this is ready. So what will happen when you call this DAG? The DAG is going to the new operator is going to call this operator. Okay, and the operator will check the connection ID. The connection ID we have given in the admin locations, and then we are going to execute the command. So I think we are fine now. Let me just go DAGs, the refresh. Check occur once. Let me just do up. I think we got one error. Yeah, we got one error in our how much we found Airflow operator. Oh, sorry, it's not operator. Need to put some. Okay, right. Asking. You can give the what can I give instead of delete. Let me give. Okay, so test SSH remotely be used in the anyway. So start date that we need to import this package simply. So we can use the start date and import this package. That's it. It's going to work. Okay, no errors for this job. Okay, SSH connectivity. Okay, and the graph, the task. Correct, right? Now let's execute the job. So this is very important. Why? Because for SFTP, we follow same process. Actually, we will use this process only. This is a part of SFTP. Instead of I jump into SFTP, first we have to see how this testing is working and we can use it. Okay, now we got the retry error. What is the error? Now you see creating SSH client. Okay, trying to create a hook. Okay, task failed for reason is connection ID is not defined. We defined connection ID. What is the connection ID? SSH test. Check the connections. Okay. We removed we down the airflow, right? And we up the airflow, right? So we lost the
Okay.
one. Okay, let me use this one. Suppose I'll just give SSH test again and hostname. What is my IP address? If config.
192.116.16.
So username is Venkata, right? Yeah, Venkata. Let me test before to give. Okay, success. I'm saving now. Yeah, I use the same name. So let me go for tags, SSH connectivity, graph. Trigger. So I just triggered again by adding the connection details. Yeah, success. We check the log. So this is very important how this process is working, because you'll face a lot of issues in real time. The connections, especially. I mean, the process is same. Why you face the issue? Because everywhere there is a department for the allowing this connectivity to the network. As your sources is already defined, me case flow, no problem, because we already defined IP me connections. Normally, if you start a new project, new use case, starting from scratch, done, it's everything new, right? New source systems, new connectivities, new configurations. So you need to enable the networking, uh, firewall issues, and infosec approvals, and there's a lot of we see a lot of departments will involve to give you approvals. And even that is only one time. If it is already connections, everything is desktop. If it's already using DAX, or if the source is already part of your team from so many years, or from few, or already using the sources, then fine. You have already that connectivity details, right? That will be fine. So here, so if you see creating the SSH client, yes.
Yes.
So I use the connection SSH test for task execution. So you can see that now you see here connected to the OpenSSH, and authentication by password successful. Normally, we'll give the public key, private key, that we will see in the next section, how we will give the keys. And once the connection is established, and the next job is what you want. So in the code I mentioned, just execute the command. So running command, so which is like we are doing the echo, just we asking to display the data. So we are echoing. Once the command is executing, when you say echo means display, yes, this is going to display in the next line, testing as a connectivity, and the job is success. So like this, you see all the step by step. So it means this is the process of connecting SSH remotely. And this connectivity we use for username password. This is okay for your POCs or develop environments or anything. But the production level, they'll not use the passwords. They can't share through Git, or they can't load passwords directly in the Airflow. They just give only private keys. You need to use those private keys to connect those SSH. And if you see, when I say the cluster in real time, you can see different types of connectivities. If you see this Airflow DAG, yeah, the executors. So how it is working as the executor, like here we have actually different types of executors. I don't know, I think we have not discussed about the executors, how this is going to work, right? So we have different types of the executors out there. So you need to see what we have in the local host and what we have in the real-time clusters. So by default, this is actually working for the cluster level, which is called celery execute. Okay, let's see how the executor is going to run. There are multiple executors. The first one, I'll take a sequential executor. So what is a sequential executor? Sequential executor is actually running the tasks one by one. So like it will execute one task one time. So for example, let's say we have so the task one, task two, task three. So after the task one is done, it will go task two. After task two, it will go task three. If you have any parallel tasks, I think we discussed some tasks with the parallelly combinations. Then even in that case, it will go one by one only. So it can't do any parallelism. So just go sequential order. The name itself, it is going to sequential distribute. And remember, executor is not going to execute we discussed this, right? Executor is not going to execute your task. Like what executor is doing, executor is assigning the tasks to the workers. So the worker will take care of that process. So as part of this process, sequential executor is nothing but it's a default one. So this is executing like a one task at a time. So when we have any issues, when we have any issue with the DAX or anything, we can check this type of executors where the issue. Okay, so sometimes you don't understand the logs clearly. So that time when we have multiple tasks in a one DAG, we can use sequential executor so that we can use debugging mainly for debugging purposes where the issue it is. And the next one is the local executor. Local executor, even this one is a local for use local mission. But this is like we can do multiple processing, multiple processes, but on the same machine only. It's the same machine. So, for example, let's say right now we are playing with the Dockers. So yes, you can use the same machine for multiple containers or multiple processes. So local executor is good for the small projects, like some POCs or projects. There's a small level of your DAX, not like more DAX. But on the real time, when we go distributed, now the distribution mechanism will follow. As you see, so the third one, the salary executor. Salary executor is going to distribute across all systems, multiple systems, across multiple systems. So here in this distributor, in the salary executor, is going to across multiple missions, multiple systems, multiple complex workflows. So it's same like in our real-time cluster. It's the same. It's the same we use. Salary executor we use in real time for any complex workflows, anything. There's a default enterprise one. The executor we are going to use. That's why the executors by default it is. And the next one is the task executor. So the task executor is nothing but when we have a complex when we have a complex jobs, when we require the parallel computing systems, when we want to do some dynamically task scheduling. This is mainly for more complex works, more complex workloads. We're going to use this for task executor. And if we have a cluster called AKS or GKS or any KS, like when I say KS means Kubernetes services, we call K8 also, K8s, nothing but Kubernetes cluster, like AWS Kubernetes, Azure Kubernetes, Google Kubernetes, or your on-prem own Kubernetes. Then the executor is different because Kubernetes has a lot of pods and it's totally highly scalable, right? And it's for end of the day. This is all belongs to the distributed mechanisms. And when we have a Kubernetes cluster deployed in Airflow, then by default, the pod will be available when the jobs are, and it depends upon your scalable requirement. Automatically, the Kubernetes will allocate the more pods for your requirement. So these are all like a different executor. And if you see our local Docker right now, what we are playing is salary executor, which means it can allow multiple workers. For example, let's give a try for the Airflow. Okay, suppose I'm taking Airflow -worker -2. Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm doing a 2 workers. Okay, do we have Flower? Second, we have Flower in this. Yeah, I think let me take this 1 second. Let me just use this. Then, because the problem with the versions, there are some versions. Let me just down this one. Doesn't matter. I just always use latest version. That will be better. So, okay, now, okay, there's a concept called Flower. So, what is this Airflow Flower? This is nothing but it is going to display your workers, your worker things, like in the cluster we have number of workers, right? So you need to know how to manage that workers. Okay, so it's like a monitoring tool, I can say. Like we have Airflow connectivity for the DAGs. This is for DAG monitoring, right? We are DAG monitoring and DAG processing and everything, right? The same way we have Airflow Flower. So how the flavors, like the same way in the Flower, this Airflow Flower is going to control and monitor, depends upon how many workers you have. So we can see, we can monitor if we have any issues with the workers, or let's say until worker number n. So we can see all the number of workers. We can access everything in the Flower. So it means there is a UI for Flower. I think yeah, it's 5555 by default port number. Let's see now. So even it is available in your Docker. Let me go to the Docker. Okay, I think it's connecting. Few seconds. So this morning I just deleted all my volumes because of some RAM issue. So yeah, now yeah. So yeah, see, this is a localhost 5.5 the salary Flower. It is going to get the all worker profiles, and then you can access. So you need to enable this machine, and then you can use it. So when we use the salary executor, like by default, there is a visibility using this. Even if it's a one worker, we can see this. So the use of the Flower is mainly for we can see how the workers are working. We can see how the tasks are allocating to the workers, and it is giving a real-time dashboard of your workers just to understand your worker life status, including the tasks running, which worker, which task is taking care. Like, and I think in a big data in Hadoop we call job tracker or task tracker. The same way here we have worker nodes, and this is the Flower is going to take care of all your slaves. Slave means worker nodes. So slave machines to handle your task managements and everything. So this is a very good task. When you have 100 nodes, 50, it's very good to monitor this type of workers. So, and let's see now, I don't have worker is enabled. I don't have a Flower is enabled here as a machine because you don't require, by default, it is not enabled, but you can enable by calling the Docker composer of Flower so that it can enable. Even in your machine, it is not enabled by default. So you can enable by default. So now we can just give a try. Localhost 55555. See, we got it right. Different portal.
Yes.
So this is the Flower portal, and you will see I have one salaried worker node. Only one we have. So this is your DAX. This is all your DAX, and this is the Flower. You see the C salary
Yeah.
Flower. So and see only worker node. And suppose if I give let me try this. I think now we have deleted up and down, right? I think we lost the connection details. Yeah, even though doesn't matter. Let me give SSH connection for example. I'm not testing the results. I'm just testing how the worker is. So see here, processed one, and and you see when your job submitted, you can see I've just triggered. See process two.
Okay.
Okay, so means whenever the job comes, then see process to three. Like if suppose let me take worker right here. I'm taking this worker. Yeah, I'm just taking only one worker. I'm renaming that worker. I'm making new mission, nothing but I called worker two. So now how many workers I have? Two workers. So, but I can see only one. When you refresh, oh, sorry, I need to first upgrade this. So worker two is creating now, and when the worker two is running, then the Flower going to capture automatically. Now refresh. See now we got two workers.
Okay. Yeah.
So now when you submit, I don't know, let's take some big jobs, something. Suppose our near real-time injection is missing that. Okay, receiver. Okay, this one is different. Just take any sample ones for us. Okay, I think this is something. I don't know what is the job. I'm just running. So the three will run, right? And now if you see the Flower, if you refresh, so yeah, you see here we got one already. So previously is when you start zero. So it means like how it's working is distributing. So see the average, loading the averages, so it's just distributing by default. So like this in real time on the salary nodes when you are distributing the cluster. So this is the way we're going to use this. So when you see your DAX, you can see when you can check what machine you're working on the real time. So like that, the backend, the executors will work like this. The execution will go based on this. But here we have flexibility. We can add a number of nodes. If your system have good configuration, like in Dockers, we can make 3-node cluster, 3-node cluster, and then you can use it for multi-purpose, multi-job purpose. Yeah. So this way you can access this, and you can see tasks. Okay, which task is going to which node? So we have executed some things, and then you see that is going to this node or other nodes. The 2 nodes are divided. Which task is going to which node, and how the broker means like this is like nothing but like this is going to maintain all your information about your worker nodes. This is a master of your brokers, and this is a heart of your um, this is the what we have in the dev cluster. Let's say we have a multiple brokers. Normally, like in suppose everything we have requirements. Like in a Kafka, we have a three broker requirement for each environment. Like for example, Airflow, we have a minimum one, and we can increase more brokers. So we can see multiple broker systems also. Each broker have a lot of workers, and each worker have a lot of tasks we can distribute. Like that, hierarchy will work. Okay, so what? Okay, I think we have deviated things. Yeah, I think this is very good. I thought I've discussed this, but yeah, it's good now to discuss. Okay, now the next thing is, yes, we have authenticated to SSH. The authentication mechanism is success. And now we need to go with the SFTP. When we talk SFTP means we follow the same authentication, but we'll give the source, and now we'll take 2 functions. One for source system function, one the target function, and we'll use the SFTP operators to move data from source to target. Okay. But in that approach, we can use, it depends upon how, see, SSH is the way how your requirement is defined. SFTP job is just moving the file. But if the SSH is approved, means is allowed to remotely to go to the server and moving the files, that's important. Means how security shell you connected. You connected through username password, or you connected through private keys. That's important. So we discuss now the username password. In the next section, we'll see how we are connecting the private keys, and we will see the SFTP connectivity also. So you'll get an idea. Like in 2-3 sessions, we are going to cover this, complete this SFTP, including the file transfers, and yeah, if there is anything internal keys, even we can give the keys to encrypt, decrypt also. We can do that process. Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Okay. Yeah. Any doubts, Ignas?